Marie Curie Skłodowska, the only woman to receive two Nobel Prizes in two different scientific fields. A scientist who changed the way we understand atoms, energy, and cancer treatment. But also a woman who spent her life fighting poverty, prejudice, and personal loss. Her story does not begin in a laboratory, but in occupied Poland. First chapter: Childhood and Youth in Poland. Maria Skłodowska was born in 1867 in Warsaw, at a time when Poland did not exist as an independent country. It was part of the Russian Empire, and Polish intellectuals were heavily persecuted. Marie grew up in a family of teachers, where education and science were deeply valued. From a very young age, she showed extraordinary intelligence and an exceptional memory. Her childhood, however, was marked by tragedy. First, her older sister Sophia died of typhus, and shortly afterward, her mother died of tuberculosis. These losses deeply affected Marie and weakened her faith in God. Second chapter: Secret Education and the Dream of Paris. Because women were not allowed to study at universities in Poland, Marie attended the so-called Flying University, a secret educational institution that constantly changed locations to avoid Russian authorities. Marie not only studied there but also taught working women and collected books for a Polish library. Still, she knew that if she wanted to grow scientifically, she would have to leave her homeland. Her dream was the Sorbonne in Paris, one of the few universities in Europe that accepted women. Third chapter: Studies at the Sorbonne. Marie moved to Paris in 1891 at the age of 24. She lived in extreme poverty, often going hungry and unable to afford heating or proper clothing. She devoted all her time and energy to studying physics and mathematics. Social life did not interest her. Science was her only passion. Despite difficult living conditions and health problems, she achieved outstanding results and soon became one of the top students of her year. Fourth chapter: Meeting Pierre Curie. After completing her degree in physics in 1893, Marie continued her studies in mathematics while beginning her own scientific work in Paris. During this time, she was looking for suitable laboratory space for her research. It was then that she met Pierre Curie, an established physicist who offered her access to a laboratory. They were united not only by their love of science, but also by shared values and ideals. They married in 1895, forming a partnership that was both personal and scientific. Working under modest conditions, they began research that would forever change the world. The discovery of radioactivity, polonium, and radium. When Henri Becquerel observed a strange new form of radiation, Marie Curie took the question further and changed science forever. She introduced a new term for this phenomenon: radioactivity. Together with Pierre, she discovered that uranium ore emitted more radiation than pure uranium itself. This meant only one thing: the ore had to contain unknown chemical elements. In 1898, they discovered polonium, named after Marie's homeland. Soon afterward, they identified an even more powerful element: radium. For years, they processed tons of radioactive material, unaware of how dangerous long-term radiation exposure truly was. Sixth chapter: The Nobel Prize and Tragedy. In 1903, Marie and Pierre Curie were awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics. Marie thus became the first woman to receive a Nobel Prize, but the joy did not last long. In 1906, Pierre died tragically in a street accident when he slipped and fell under a heavy horse-drawn cart. He was just 47 years old. Marie was left alone with two daughters, Eve and Irene, and with an enormous scientific legacy. 7th chapter, Marie Curie on her own. Despite her personal grief, Marie did not give up. She became the first female professor at the Sorbonne, taking over Pierre's position. In 1911, she received her second Nobel Prize, this time in chemistry, for the discovery of polonium and radium, and for isolating these elements. She also faced hostility, rumors, and sexism. The French Academy of Sciences refused to admit her, by a single vote. Despite Curie's fame as a scientist working for France, the public's attitude tended towards xenophobia, the same that had led to the Dreyfus Affair, which also fueled false speculation that Curie was Jewish. 8th chapter, War and Later Years. During the First World War, Marie organized mobile X-ray units that saved the lives of thousands of wounded soldiers. After the war, she was finally recognized worldwide as a scientific authority. Yet she continued to live modestly and refused to patent the method of producing radium, believing that scientific knowledge should benefit all of humanity. This belief shaped not only her scientific work, but also its medical impact. Marie Curie founded the Radium Institute in Paris, where radioactive elements were used to treat cancer in a systematic way for the first time. Her daughter Irene worked closely with her, first during World War I and later as a scientist. Irene would eventually win a Nobel Prize of her own for the discovery of artificial radioactivity. Marie's younger daughter, Eve, chose a different path and became a writer and journalist, preserving her mother's legacy through words rather than science. 9th chapter, Death and Legacy. Marie Curie Skłodowska died in 1934 aged 66 from leukemia caused by long-term radiation exposure. Her life was a sacrifice to science, but her discoveries transformed medicine, physics, and chemistry forever.